Imagine waking up and the person you love is just gone. No note, no phone, no goodbye, just an open door and silence. Welcome to the True Crime Cinema. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from.
Is the body of Nathan Smith. My colleague who was on the scene at the time tells me a body bag was brought to the scene. The medical examiner showed up, and we as members of the media were asked to move back. Then at approximately about 1:45, a gurney was put in a transport van, and that van pulled off. So many people in this family-friendly community were hoping for the best. I have talked to some of them since I have been here, but this Friday afternoon there is utter sadness. Now, the Milton Police Department says it will not comment further on this case until the medical examiner positively identifies.
There are some stories that stay with you long after you've heard them. Stories that make you pause, put down whatever you're doing, and just think. This is one of those stories. It was the third day of February 2026. A quiet Tuesday morning in Riverside Heights, a peaceful suburb just outside of Houston, Texas. The kind of neighborhood where people jog with their dogs, where kids ride bikes after school, where nothing unusual ever really happens. But something unusual happened that morning. A young man, 27 years old, full of life, full of talent, walked out of his home just as the sun was beginning to rise. No phone, no wallet, no keys. He just left, and nobody could explain why. His name was Marcus James. To his family and close friends, he was just Marcus, a warm, funny, deeply creative young man who loved music more than almost anything in the world. But to the thousands of fans who followed his work, he was known as DJ Slade, a rising name in the music world, a producer with a real gift, someone people genuinely believed was going places. When Marcus didn't come back that morning, his family started to worry. When he didn't come back that afternoon, the worry turned into fear. By the time night fell, and there was still no sign of him, his loved ones did the only thing they could. They called the police. The Riverside Heights Police Department issued a missing persons alert. They described the situation as unusual. They said Marcus might have been confused or disoriented. They asked anyone who had seen him to come forward immediately. And just like that, a missing persons search began for a young man who had walked out into the morning with nothing and had not come back. Nobody knew it yet, but the next 3 days would change everything for everyone who loved him. Before we talk about what happened next, I think it's important that we take a moment to talk about who Marcus really was. Because sometimes when stories like this hit the news, the person at the center of it all gets lost in the details, in the timelines, in the police reports, in the headlines. And Marcus deserves more than that. Marcus James was born in 1998, the firstborn son of a man many of you will know, Raymond DJ King Ray James, one of the most celebrated names in Houston's hip-hop scene. His father had built a career out of hard work and raw talent, and from a very young age, Marcus grew up watching that world from the inside. He saw what it meant to pour yourself into music. He saw the studio sessions that ran past midnight. He saw the stage lights, the crowds, the dedication it took to build something real. And it left a mark on him. A good one. By the time Marcus was a teenager, he wasn't just a fan of music. He was making it, learning it, living it. He went on to study music at one of the most respected universities in the country, earning his degree and taking his passion from something personal to something professional. As DJ Slade, he carved out his own identity, separate from his father's famous name, built entirely on his own talent. He produced tracks. He performed at events. He engineered sounds. He was building something. And then, in February 2026, he was gone. Those who knew Marcus personally say he was more than just his music. He was kind. He was thoughtful. He made people feel seen. His disappearance didn't just leave a gap in the music world. It left a gap in the hearts of everyone who had ever spent time with him. That's the person we're talking about. Not just a name in a headline. A real, breathing, beloved human being. Before we get too deep, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you find value in these discussions. When you love someone and they disappear, Every hour feels like a lifetime. After Marcus walked out of his home near Clearwater Drive and Maple Ridge Road in the early hours of February 3rd, his family, friends, and local police began searching. They knocked on doors. They walked the streets. They asked neighbors if they'd seen anything. A young man alone, maybe looking confused, maybe heading somewhere without a clear direction. Nothing. Search volunteers spread out across the area. They checked nearby parks, open fields, quiet streets. The Riverside Heights police coordinated with surrounding communities. People who had never even met Marcus joined in the search because that's what people do when someone is missing. They show up. Still nothing. By February 5th, the search expanded to Meadowfield Park, a large green space close to where Marcus lived, with walking trails, open lawns, and a pond sitting quietly at its edge. It was the kind of place people walked through every day without really thinking about it. Peaceful. Ordinary. And yet, it was here that search teams began to focus their attention. On the morning of February 6th, just before midday, a specialized dive team entered the water. At 11:53 in the morning, they found him. A body was recovered from the pond in Meadowfield Park. Police said they believed it was Marcus, pending official confirmation from the county medical examiner's office. They said there were no obvious signs of foul play. They said the investigation was ongoing. But for his family, who had spent 3 sleepless days hoping and praying and waiting, the words hit like a wall. Marcus was gone. I don't think there are words in any language that fully capture what it means to lose a child. A parent can spend decades building a life, raising a human being, watching them grow, and then in the span of a few days, all of that can change forever. No warning. No chance to say goodbye. Just silence where there used to be a voice. That was the reality Raymond James faced on February 6, 2026. Later that day, he released a statement alongside Marcus's mother. He confirmed the news that so many people had been dreading. He thanked the police and the volunteers and the search teams. He talked about his son, about who Marcus was, about what he had given to this world, about how proud he had made his family. And then he asked for something simple and human: privacy. Space to grieve. Time to breathe through the pain. The response from the music community and the wider public was immediate. Messages poured in. Tributes spread across social media. People who had heard Marcus's music, people who had seen him perform, people who had simply heard his name in passing, they all stopped to say something. To acknowledge that a light had gone out too soon. 2 weeks later, on February 18, 2026, Marcus was laid to rest. The funeral was held on the first day of Ramadan, a date of deep spiritual significance, a day of reflection and prayer. His family shared that the service was private, quiet, and full of love. And then the public grieving gave way to something harder, the private kind. The kind that doesn't have an audience. The kind that lasts. For Raymond James, for Marcus's mother, for every person who had loved him up close, the real work of grief was only just beginning. Here's the thing about a story like this. It doesn't wrap up neatly. There's no clean ending. There's no final scene that explains everything and sends you home feeling settled. As of the time of this video, the investigation into Marcus James's death remains open. The medical examiner has not yet released the full results of the autopsy. The official cause of death has not been confirmed. Police have stated there are no signs of foul play, but they have also been careful not to close the door on any possibility. And that leaves all of us, and especially his family, sitting with questions that don't yet have answers. Why did Marcus leave that morning without his phone, without any of his belongings? What was going through his mind? Was he feeling unwell? Was something else going on that none of us knew about? How did he end up in that pond, just a short distance from the home he had walked out of? The police haven't said. The public record doesn't tell us. And until the full investigation is complete, we may not know. What I will say, and what I think matters most, is this. Marcus James was a young man with a life full of promise. He was someone's son, someone's friend, someone whose music existed in the world and will continue to exist, even now that he is gone. Stories like his remind us that life is fragile and precious, and sometimes heartbreakingly short. They remind us to hold the people we love a little closer. to check in on the people in our lives who might be struggling quietly. And they remind us that behind every headline, there is a human being who deserved so much more time. Rest easy, Marcus. You are loved, and you will not be forgotten. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the True Crime Cinema for meaningful stories that inspire and teach life lessons.